Hello, world. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to the 133rd episode of Free International Webinar brought to you by the Institute of Global Professionals, or IGP. And we are coming to you live via StreamYard on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for joining us for tonight's session. But before we get started, I wonder if you could let us know first down in the comment section down below, where are you joining in from? All right, I'll give you a few seconds to do that. All right, so we've got here Cherry Obeles. Good evening. All right, and then we've got Lawrence Munar from Mariveles, Bataan, Philippines. All right, thank you so much for joining in. And for those who just joining in, welcome aboard and kindly please let us know down in the comment section below, where are you joining in from? We'd love to hear your feedbacks, guys. All right. Okay. Okay. Yes, for those who just joining in, kindly please let us know, where are you joining in from? All right. So, all right, here we go. It is my privilege to welcome you all to tonight's or today's webinar on scientific research and reviewing. My name is Gafoor M. Panimbang, an assistant professor 4 at Adyong Memorial Polytechnic State College here in Mindanao, Philippines. And I'm so deeply honored to be your host for tonight's session. For those who don't know yet, the Institute of Global Professionals, or IGP, is an ISO certified training institute and a globally recognized international professional organization that provides free online and offline learning platforms for education and skills training. Like the webinar that we are having right now, or we are doing right now, for students and professionals alike. It is a nonprofit training institute dedicated to making it possible for anyone to study anything and anywhere for free online at any subject level. True to its mantra, feed your skill, it is IGP's mission to empower people by providing an overall learning experience that meets their needs and helps them to achieve life goals. We believe that free education, more than anything, has the power to break through boundaries and transform lives. Allow me to go through some housekeeping notes to ensure you can interact with our speakers. You will have the opportunity to ask questions related to the content of tonight's webinar to our speakers. The speakers will be answering questions through chat and only through chat. So please type them in the chat box below. You may send in your questions using the comment section down below at any time during the presentation. We will collect those questions and address them during the Q&A session at the end of tonight's event. Your questions will be posted on the screen and I will be reading them out loud for the speakers to share their answers if time permits. Throughout this presentation, you will see a couple of questions pop up on your screen that would allow you to get engaged with us while the webinar is going on. And we appreciate you guys answering those questions coming up. And today's or tonight's session is being recorded to be available for viewing post-conference on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. That's Institute of Global Professionals. We are using our FB page and our YouTube account to store webinar recordings and make them available to the public. After this session, we'll be uploading it on our YouTube channel for you to watch a replay in case you want to review anything. And also, guys, please consider hitting the subscribe button and ring the notification bell for you to get notified every time we upload a webinar video every other day. If you stay till the end, you will get a link to download your e-certificate free of charge, courtesy of the Institute of Global Professionals. The link will be provided as pinned post down in the comment section below shortly before the webinar ends. If for some reason you were unable to download your e-certificate after the webinar, owing to huge volume of internet traffic, please find some time to have it downloaded maybe tomorrow or the following day. Stick around with us later for the exciting and interactive online quiz game competition. And if you wish to join with the quiz game competition as player, just go to slido.com using your own device and browser. And once you get there, you will see a window asking you to put the event code. All right? So just simply type in the event code and press enter, and then you're good to go. The event code will be posted on the screen just before the competition begins. Lucky top 10 players will receive online quiz completion certificate courtesy of the Institute of Global Professional. If you have not yet joined the IGP, please consider joining in. It's free, and our organization can offer you many benefits, all right, to you guys. So, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are presenting a topic on scientific research and or scientific research writing and reviewing. So, are you all guys excited for this topic? All right. This topic is really appropriate for all of our researchers, teachers, and educators, as well as students out there who would like to enhance their skills in research writing, how the review process is being conducted, and how your research paper will get published. All right? So, without further ado, I would like now to welcome our speakers for tonight. Welcome, Sir Felix Arcela Jr. All right. And we've got Dr. Rex A. Lim. Okay. We are so glad you could be here tonight to share your insights on the topic scientific research, writing, and reviewing. All right. So we will now turn over the time over to our first speaker. All right. We're joined by Sir Felix Arcela Jr. He is currently a managing editor, a research instructor, and an associate member of the National Research Council of the Philippines. And that made him so relevant for the topic that he will be sharing with us. We are so thrilled to have him join us tonight to discuss scientific research and publishable paper. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming our first speaker for tonight's session, Sir Felix Arcelia Jr. Sir, good
Okay,
evening.
good evening,
Welcome
sir.
to IGT seminar. So glad to have you here.
Yes, thank you so much, sir, for having me as your speaker. I will show my screen first before I will introduce myself.
Sure.
Okay, can you see now my screen?
I think it's still loading. Okay, there you go. We are now seeing your screen. I mean, your slides on the screen.
Okay, thank you so much. So, good evening again. I am Mr. Felix Espinosa Arcila Jr., a licensed professional teacher, and a graduate of Master of Arts in Curriculum Design, Development, and Supervision, major in English at St. Paul University, Manila. I am also the managing editor at St. Miguel College of Caraga and associate member of the National Research Council of the Philippines. Okay, this is my ORCID number and also my ResearchGate account and Web of Science Researcher ID, and also I have Academia Research account and also Google Scholar. In Google Scholar, I have 17 publications with each index of 2 and a citations of 15. You can search my name in Google Scholar. Let's proceed to my topic, Anatomy of Well-Written Publishable Papers. The Elsevier Scopus and Thomson Reuters Standard. Okay, the Elsevier Scopus manuscript format. First is the section, the purpose. Okay, I will discuss each one later on. First is the title. The title should reflect content and entices reader. Your title should be catchy, timely, and relevant. And then the author is recognition of the researchers. And then the abstract summarizes the research and the conclusion. Okay, your abstract is the synopsis of your paper. And then the keywords ensures the article is correctly identified in abstracting and indexing services. And also the body, the text, the introduction puts the work into context. So what is your rationale of the study? You will introduce that in your introduction. And also the methods, explain how the data were collected. In methods, in experimental, there is materials and methods for qualitative and quantitative. There is methodology. And also the results describe what was discovered based on the data that you have. And then the discussion and conclusion explores the implications of the findings. The acknowledgements ensures those who have helped with the research are recognized. And then the references ensures previously published work is recognized. Of course, if you cite someone, then you should reflect that in your references section. And then the supplementary material provides online additions to the article, such as raw data, video, and audio. Okay, your title. So, what would be your title? The title should reflect the article's content clearly and precisely. It should be clearly and precisely and enable the reader to decide whether they want to read the article. Upon reading your title, so if I am a reader, so I can say that your title is good or not, or else I will continue reading your title. And the title is the main advertisement for the article. A great title will entice the audience to read on, whereas a poor titled article may never reach its target audience. Keep the title simple, catchy, and specific, and also timely and relevant, especially in the times of pandemic. Omit unnecessary words such as a study of, investigations of, observations on, and avoid using abbreviations and jargon. So what are those abbreviations? For example, terms that only applicable in your field. So it should be international accepted words. For example, the effect of heating the albumin and vitalis of the gallus um, luminous contained in calcium carbonate. So, for example, that title. So, but it should be boiling a chicken egg in water. So that is the best title for that title. For that example, in short, effective titles identify the main issue of the manuscript. For example, what are your variables? You have independent variables in your title, and also begin with the subject of manuscript. So what are your subject? What are the components of your research? And also are accurate, unambiguous, specific, and complete. Are short and as informative as possible. Are enticing and interesting, making the audience want to read further. Upon reading your title, then it depends on the reader. And also the authors. The listing of authors should only include those who have made an intellectual contribution to the research, who will take public responsibility for the data and the conclusion, and who have approved the final version of the manuscript. So if that person is not contributed to your research, so you should not include him or her in your study. And also, the author should have an ORCID number or the Scopus author ID or researcher ID for Thomson and Reuters um, publication. For me, I have Thomson Reuters ID, and also I have also ORCID number. And then the keyword list, a list of important words that reflect the research, in addition to those already used in the title. Aside from the title, you also put keywords in your research. Choosing the right keywords will increase the likelihood of your article being found by other researchers, such as keywords are used by abstracting and indexing services. So the keywords is very important in your research. For example, I will search online classes, modular approach. So that would be the keywords in searching in Google Scholar and other databases. Okay, your abstract. The abstract should summarize the problem or study objective, the method, the results, and the conclusion of your research. Actually, in our school, I am also teaching research. We have also journal publication in our school. Um, I am the managing editor, and I handled 7 journals and different department. In our abstract, we have five components of our abstract. First is the short introduction or the statement. Second, the objective or the purpose of your research. The third is your method or methodology. The fourth is the conclusion, and the fifth is the recommendation. So those are the 5 components of your abstract, and also it is applicable for ISI and Scopus standard journal. The abstract enables you to elaborate on each major section of the article, usually in up to 200 words. In our case, based on our criteria in our journal, our abstract should have 190 to 210 words only. Okay, please remember, your abstract should usually up to 200 words, especially in a journal type, but in a thesis format, I guess their abstract is too long. The abstract should give sufficient detail that the reader can decide whether or not to read the whole article. Together, the title and the abstract should be able to stand on their own as they are processed further by indexing services. Okay, please remember that your abstract is a synopsis of your paper. It is a summary, so it should be the details are also there in your abstract. It is best it is best not to include references, figures, or tables in the abstract. You should avoid references, citation in your abstract, figures, or tables in your abstract. You should have 200 words to describe your research, so use them wisely. Many authors write the abstract last so that it accurately reflects the content of the article. Of course, after, for example, proposal or defense, so that's the time my students write their abstract. And also your introduction or the rationale of your research. So what is the introduction in an ISI or Scopus standard? The introduction should be brief. It is meant to provide context and background, but should not be a history lesson. I read some introduction, they are too long. Yeah, it's just like a history lesson from the start and then from the end. But it should state clearly the problem being investigated, the background that puts the problem in context, and the reasons for conducting the research. You should summarize relevant research to provide context and state the questions you are answering. Okay, in your introduction, you should also input international studies that support your study, national studies that support your study, and also local For example, international in America and national um, within the Philippines or from the Philippines, other place, and also local in your area if there are some publications that relate to your study in your area. And also brief and logically led the researcher to your hypothesis, research question, and general experimental design or method. So you should also include your what is the purpose of your research in your introduction. The method or the methodology, also called materials and methods for experimental and for quantity and qualitative research methodology. And this section provides the readers with enough detail that they can replicate your research, explain how you study the problem, identify the procedures you followed, and structure this as logically as possible. If your methods are new, you will need to explain them in your detail. For example, in your research design, what is your research design? For example, descriptive, experimental. So you should include that in your method or in your methodology. The research respondents, the research locale, and then the statistical treatment, and etc. If you are writing a manuscript about research that involve human participants, animals, stem cells, or other biohazard materials, you will need to include certain information in the ethics statement, such as the patient's consent and permission to publish. Uh, Before you gather the data, so you should have informed consent to your respondents or participants. And also, um, it should be recommended that every school has their own ethics committee to check your research and also your instrument before conducting your research. The results, or in other words, the results and discussion. This section should present your findings objectively and explain what was found. Okay, what is your objective will also be answered in your results. For example, the main objective of the study was to determine the factors affecting. So what are those factors will be discussed based on the data in your results. This is where you show how your new results contribute to the body of scientific knowledge. So it is important to be clear and set them out in logical sequence. So based on your objective or objectives. The sequence should be based on the tables and figures that best present your findings. Raw data are really included in a scientific article. Instead, the data are analyzed or tabulated and also by the statistician and also presented in the form of figures, graphs, tables, and descriptions and observations. Don't forget to put citations in your results and discussion. So after your description, so you need an author or a study that support your research. According to the study of Cohen, he supported that, so that would be your results. It must be that you have a support from other researchers and also to support your claim in your results and discussion. Tables and figures must be numbered separately. For example, table 1, table 2, figure 1, and figure 2, and should be in the sequence that you refer to them in the text. Figures should have a brief description, a legend, providing the reader with sufficient information to know how the data were produced. It is important not to interpret your results. This could be done in the discussion and conclusion section. The discussion and conclusion, this section describes what your results mean, specifically in the context of what was already known about the subject of the investigation. You can present global and specific conclusions here, but be careful not to summarize your manuscript. This is what the abstract is for. Okay, in your conclusion, your conclusion should what? Answer your objectives. And also, your conclusion is not the repetitions of the results, but a judgment of the results obtained. I read some articles or papers in their introduction, they put weighted mean and other, but upon checking their objective, it's different. Okay, your conclusion should what? Answer your objectives. It is not a repetition of your results, but a judgment of the results obtained. That is your conclusion. And also avoid summarizing your conclusion because um, this is what abstract is for. And also, most significantly, the discussion should explain how the research has moved the body of scientific knowledge forward, suggest further experiments and indicate whether they are underway, and indicate uses and extensions if appropriate. Your conclusion should be supported by your results. So what is your results will be supported your conclusion. It is important not to extend your conclusions beyond this. So avoid undue speculation and bold judgment about impact. Okay, please remember that. Okay, make sure your results directly support your conclusion. Again, your results directly support your conclusion. You use specific expression and quantitative descriptions to degrees higher rather than, so that is an example of quantitative expression descriptions. You use already established terms. Do not introduce the reader to a whole new vocabulary. Missed an important term, go back to the introduction and describe it there. So for example, if you use that term only in conclusion, so it should be avoided. But of course, if you use that term, so it must be also reflected in your introduction or the bad or your methodology or in your review of related literature. And also, you root all interpretations and speculations in fact rather than imagination. So you should also base your speculations on the data, not your imagination or your opinion, because research is scientific. It is based on what? Based on your data that you have gathered. And then the acknowledgements. This section should be brief and include the names of individuals who have helped with the research, such as contributors and suppliers who provided materials free of charge. Authors should also disclose in their article any financial or other substantive conflict of interest that might be seen to influence the results or interpretation of the research. So if you want to acknowledge, for example, your funding agency, you can mention that in your acknowledgement, especially here in the Philippines from the OST and other funding bodies that support research. So you can mention that in your acknowledgements. And then your references. The references section at the end of the articles includes all references cited in your article. I read also some article in the journal. For example, RCL 2020, he or she mentioned that in the introduction, but it was not reflected in the reference section. So this is not good. Okay, this section is not contrast to a bibliography common in books where works read but not necessarily cited in the text are listed. So um, research or journal is different from books. All the citations that you cited will be reflected in your references section. As a managing editor, so I guess that is one of my problems in checking the manuscript of my of the researchers or the students because they already copy pasted the author and then the statement, but they forgot to reflect the reference, the citation in the references section. And also verb tenses in research. Okay, when to use past tense, when to use present tense, and when to use future tense in research. I guess there are some researchers that do not know about this one, but in our journal publications or in our journal orientation here in our school, I already oriented my students about verb tenses in research. When to use past tense, when to use future tense, and when to use present tense. First, let's go to the past tense. Okay, when to use past tense? You can use past tense when discussing the research methodology after reporting the findings. But of course, in chapters 1 to 3 of your research, for example, your chapter 1 would be the introduction, the chapter 2 is your review of related literature, and your chapter 3 is your methodology, for example. So you can use future tense if the study is not yet conducted, but after you have gathered the data, you can use past tense in methodology and also referring to a statements of other researchers. For example, according to the study of Arcila 2020, he stated that. So that's the time you can use past tense when you're citing a statement or when you're quoting a statement from other authors. And also discussing a fact, research results, or law that is no longer considered valid and relevant. So that's the time you use past tense. Again, in your methodology, referring to a statement of other researchers, and also citing previous research in your article. So that's the time you will use past tense. You will not use past tense um, in your chapter 4 or in the results and discussion. But of course, you can use that one if you are citing, but if you're discussing about the table, so you will use present tense. Okay, use present tense when discussing the findings that hold true up to the present and their implications. For example, stating general truths or facts or conclusions supported by scientific findings that are likely to change. This may be anything that is universally accepted to be true. If it is universally accepted to be true, so you will use past present tense. And also to refer to the article, thesis, or dissertation itself. You can use present tense also in your results and discussion. For example, table 1 shows, table 2 shows. So you can use present tense there. Your, for example, figure 1 shows, yeah, just like that. You can only use future tense when stating your recommendations. You can use future tense only in recommendation. After formatting, after your defense, so that's the time you need to format your paper in a journal format because your thesis is different from the journal format. You have to delete some of the parts or the components in your research. Okay, these are the tips on selecting journals. First, you need to list 10 peer-reviewed journals in your field. For example, if I am, for example, language literature, so I need to find at least 10 journals that are related to my title or my field. A proper choice can make a larger impact of the research, so choose wisely. Never submit to a journal you never read. So please read the scope of the journal if your article is fitted to that journal. Please read before submitting your article to that particular journal. And also, please read also the reviews of that journal. For example, if this journal is predatory or not. So please be aware of that. Get to know the focus and readership of the journal that you are considering. And also talk to your librarian So I know they are also knowledgeable in that particular aspect. Does your references cite journals in the appropriate area? That's the question. Does your references cite journals in the appropriate area? If not, so choose you this day. And also criteria in choosing a journal. So these are some of the criteria. First, the scope of the journal or the aims and the scope of the journal. So every journal has its own scope. For example, in the field of multidisciplinary, in business. So in our journal, we have also the scope and limitations of the journal. For example, if you publish your study about computing in business, so it cannot be because that is not part of the scope and limitation of the journal. And also the indexing. For example, this particular journal is indexed in Scopus or ISI or a peer-reviewed journal. And also the impact factor. So I will talk later on about the impact factor of the journal. And then the publication frequency, it is once a year, twice a year, or um, not in a year. Because there are some journals are late in publication. And also duration to publish. For example, the frequency of the publication. The peer-reviewed process takes 2 to 3 months. How many months that does it take to does it take my article to be published? So please also consider that one before submitting or submitting your article in that particular journal. And also the duration of review, how many months, how many weeks, how many years, and also the friendliness of the editor. I guess there are some editors that are harsh. For example, I also experienced submitting my article in a particular Scopus journal. So I observed that their editors are not that friendly. And also the rejection rate. What is their rejection rate? If it is 90 or 100% rejection rate, or 80, 70, or 50. And also the references. Okay, criteria in choosing a journal. So those are some of the criteria in choosing a journal. Okay, please remember that one. For example, all Scopus journals are found in Saimago journal and counter rank. For example, if you want to publish your article in that particular journal, so please go to Saimago and search that journal. If that journal is not found in Saimago, it means that journal is not Scopus journal because all the journals that are indexed in Scopus are found in Saimago journal and counter rank. So you can see the impact factor, um, where is the journal come from. Yeah, you can see that in that Saimago. What should be the impact factor of a good journal? Ha, can you look at the table? For example, journal title, the impact factor as of 2012. Di ba na? For example, in a journal of institutional economics, 0.5551, di ba? So it's very low. An impact factor is a measure of the importance of a journal. It checks the importance of journal by measuring how many times selected articles are cited within a period of time. For example, in a year, how many authors cited in that particular articles or journal. There is no exact level at which an impact factor becomes good. The higher the impact factor, the better, the better. For example, the journal is like 7, impact factor 6. So I guess that journal is very good. The higher, the better. However, on average, the top 5% of journals have impact factors greater than 6. There are several websites which keep track of and rank journals according to their impact factors. As what I have mentioned, Saimago can trace the rank of the journal or the impact factor. If you have time now, you can go to Simago, you can search whatever journals that you would like to search, and then you can look at their impact factor, if it is high or too low. But the most important thing is the higher, the better. How do journals increase the impact factor? So this is the question. How do journals increase the impact factor? There are many ways that a journal can increase their impact factor, but mostly it should be done by improving the relevance of the articles being published. Journals that produce articles that can be cited more often, in order to do that, they can opt for some of these methods. Put quality over quantity. So it should be that the journal has a good quality, the peer review process is good, and also the publication cost. Build a high impact attitude among authors. Create an easier submission process to encourage the submission. I believe for example, the Scopus journals, they have their own submission process, wherein you will log into their website, and then you can pass your article using their website, not just emailing your article. Build and share. Make articles easier to find. Free and open access. So what are free and open access journals or articles? Um, it can be readily available or downloadable. For example, in the DOAJ, some of the journals also free. But of course, all the abstracts are available. But for some, especially in Scopus, um, you need a subscription. And also improve the quality of the journal of articles via the editorial process. So as an editor, so I have the right to check, for especially for initial evaluation. As a managing editor, I check also the submitted articles. I will check the grammar and plagiarism. So that is the first that I will check the submitted articles. Okay, journal articles adhering to the format. Sure way to annoy a reviewer: do a poor job of formatting your paper. I believe it is true based on my experience. When I read an article, or there are authors who submitted their article to my in my email. So when the format is not good, so I will always call them, or I will send back their article and told them to format your paper based on our standard. And also, many journal editors are going to do a format check before the reviewer even sees the format. Yeah, it's correct. It's correct. Before a paper will be sent to the peer reviewer, so it should be formatted first. If you want to publish your article, so can you look at to the format of the journal first? You can go to their website to check the for journal format or the article format. So these are the tools for example: submission process, pre-submission of reviewers, the article. So these are the alpha writing tool. So this is a sample of particular journal, wherein you will send your article to their website. For example, this is the article, the manuscript, so, and then the peer review process there. The process is there. 5 simple tips to get published in high impact journals. Okay, please remember this one. The 5 simple tips. First, choose a topic that gets funded. So what, especially in science and technology, I guess here in the Philippines, we have the OST to fund that research, especially in sciences and other experimental study. Number 2, Get a solid title. So your title should be catchy, timely, and relevant. The next number three is get yourself a good abstract because your abstract is the synopsis of your paper or the summary of your research. So make sure that your abstract is acceptable. So again, what are the components of abstract? Your abstract should have a short introduction, that is number one, and then the objective, the methods or the methodology, conclusion, and recommendations. So those are the five components of your what of your abstract. And also write a great literature review. So before doing a study, so you can also research in that particular topic before um, making your title. You can also research that one. And also target the right journal. So if your article is not fit to that journal, so I guess it will be rejected. That's for sure. Target the right journals, especially for ISI and Scopus journals. These are some of the comments. Condolences in your failed experiment. Sorry to hear about your rejected paper. So I guess based on my experience, many times I got rejected by a journal. And also with deepest sympathy in your disapproved theory. So these are some memes. And also extra tips for you before you publish your works. Learn how to collaborate. Actually, I have also collaboration from China, from Nigeria, from Africa. So we have also publications that is not only Filipino people, but also you can also collaborate other people outside in the Philippines. That's a good idea on collaborating your research, especially if you are conducting gathering data. You can gather data in the Philippines and also their country to collaborate your results. That is also a very good idea. And also leverage your standards, be global researcher. So be open-minded. So you need also to collaborate with other people, with other languages and other races because this is research. So we need to be a global researcher. And also increase your visibility if you have platforms like academia.edu, ResearchGate. So, and also if you already have publications, kindly log in or make use of Google Scholar. Because, for example, if you have citations that will be reflected in your Google Scholar account, so you can make your Google Scholar account right now if you have already have publications. Because all your publications will be indexed by Google Scholar, especially especially articles that are cross-referencing or that has digital object identifier or DOI. So that will be indexed by Google Scholar. Or your website is an open journal system or OJS that will also be indexed by Google Scholar. Put more efforts and be positive. So especially in the times of pandemic. So be positive always. Avoid negative thinking. Be optimistic. Okay, make it a habit. Write, publish, and repeat. So after writing, publish, repeat. So that is your routine. Write, publish, and publish. Okay, these are my references where I got my PowerPoint presentation. And also, thank you so much also for Dr. Hapus. I adapted some of his slide and also Dr. Acosta. Okay, that is the end of my presentation for tonight.
All right, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's Sir Felix Arcelia Jr. All right. Thank you so much, sir, for taking your time to prepare for such an extraordinarily wonderful presentation. I guess your lecture had a significant impact on every student and professionals alike, especially among researchers, teachers, educators who are actually engaged in research works. Your discussion in anatomy of research writing will go a long way in understanding the proper way of writing the research paper, starting from the crafting of the title, as you've just mentioned, down to the last chapter of the manuscript, right? And
Yes.
I'm pretty sure our live attendees, all right, are now fully equipped with proper knowledge on sharing your good tips on how to get their paper published. All right. So they're so lucky that you have here with us tonight, sharing your own tips on the proper way of finding the right journal and the tips on how their paper could get published, all right, without even experiencing the ugliest form of rejection from the editors. Am I right?
Yes.
And you know what, sir? I was also quite impressed with your take on, for pointing out the issue on when to use past tense, present tense, and future tense. Because I once observed in one, not to mention the name of the university, I was having a debate with one of the instructors because according to the most common misconceptions about writing is that when you do a research proposal, then those verbs, okay, that you are going to use in your manuscript should be in future tense
Future.
because it
Yes.
is just a research proposal. And then when you are now coming up with an actual thesis writing, and then I've heard some of my students were saying that you have to convert all your tenses into past tense
Past
because
tense.
it's now an actual thesis writing. So I think that's a common misconception, especially when you talk about uh, the uh, the use of present tense in like when you are presenting table, the data
Yes.
presentation. Like uh, I observed one manuscript that it said, or it's the script was, here's the table, and then down the table is the explanation. It says the table one revealed or table one indicated. So that's wrong, right?
It should be present.
It should be present because when you are presenting a fact,
Yes.
statistics analysis and everything. Thank you so much, sir, for making that clear to us. And I do believe our live audience will have a lot of questions for you. So please stay with us, sir, for the question and answer portion later on at the end part of this webinar. We truly appreciate great lectures like you, sir, and we are hoping to have you again in our next series. All right. So I once again thank you, sir, for that very, commendable job for preparing to us a very remarkable presentation on research writing, scientific research writing, and publishing a paper. Again, sir, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me in thanking Sir Felix Arcelia Jr. If you have any questions to Sir Arcelia, just type it in the comment section below, and we will bring that up during the question and answer portion. All right. So, at this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, let's call on our last but not the least speaker for tonight's session. All right. Uh, we are so privileged to have Dr. Rex A. Lim joining us as speaker. He's actually a peer reviewer at International Journal of Linguistics at Macrothink Institute, also a secretariat at Southeast Asia Research Academy, and he will be shedding light on scientific paper review. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are very fortunate in having us here, Dr. Rex A. Lim.
Yes, good evening. Am I
Yes,
audible,
good
sir?
evening.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, we
that's
can
great.
hear you clearly now.
That's great. Let me share my screen before I'm going to introduce myself. Would that be okay?
Sure, let's get straight to the content, sir.
Okay, entire screen for a while. Are you seeing my screen now?
It's still loading, I guess. Okay, there you
Okay.
go.
All right, that's great. Thank you. Once again, good evening, everybody, especially those who are watching from the Philippines. Good evening. Once again, my name is Rex Lim from the Philippines. I'm currently connected with Davao City National High School here in Davao City, and I'm also a graduate school lecturer in the University of the Immaculate Conception. As what you can see in the logos of my affiliation, and I'm also an adjunct college lecturer in Christian colleges of Southeast Asia, and currently a part of the Secretariat of Southeast Asia Research Academy, which is also known as SHARA. And I am a proud peer reviewer in the International Journal of Linguistics, a MacroThink Institute, and I am very thankful of IGP for this opportunity given to me. And this evening, we're going to talk about the following. We'll be answering the questions peer reviewing, what is it, and we'll also answer the question peer reviewer who is qualified, who are qualified reviewers, and why are peer reviewers important in scholarly publication. We'll also be talking a bit on the models of peer review, on the ethics of peer reviewing, the do's and don'ts of peer reviewing, why manuscripts get rejected. I guess some of the concepts here were already presented by Felix. And the last topic, last question, which we are going to answer this evening is manuscript rejection. Is it the end of the world for that manuscript? So these my talk will go around the following questions and topics. So let me begin. So, peer reviewing, what is it? So, according to Cope Council, peer review refers to reviews provided on manuscript submissions to journals. So, if you're going to submit to a scholarly journal, so basically your people will go through reviews, but can also include reviews for other platforms. Take note of other platforms because there are platforms where you can submit your paper for reviews. The preprints, for example, preprint platforms, you have so many, and apply to public commenting that can occur pre or post publication. So we have preprint, pre publication review. We also have peer review, that's before the publication. We also have post publication review, and some of the journals provide facilities for the the peer review and post publication. Again, not all. So, peer review is the process by which a piece of scientific research, when we talk of a piece of scientific research, it can be empirical, it can be theoretical, it can be a review paper, okay, is assessed by others, all right? A researcher's fellow peers who are suitably qualified and able to judge the piece of work. So, there is a qualification assessed by others who are qualified and able to judge the piece of work under review in terms of the following novelty, soundness, and significance of the paper. Novelty, meaning the originality of the paper, the soundness relative to the rigor of the methodology, and of course, its significance, whether or not the findings may give contribution to the body of knowledge, practically or theoretically. The process assists editors in deciding whether the research is suitable for publication in their journal. Exactly. So peer reviewers are very important in the process because whatever are the reviews of these peer reviewers will help journal editors decide whether they're due for publication or not. So peer review in its purest form is based on scientific criteria. Let's bear that in mind that a peer review is based on scientific criteria. Reviewers consider the submitted paper based on the following questions, although this is not a general criteria, but more or less, since we're talking about scientific criteria here, some of the questions are really applicable. Like, are the methods and findings valid? Okay, are the methods and findings valid? Is the discovery novel? Is the discovery unique? Will publication of the results advance knowledge in order to determine whether the results can actually contribute to the body of knowledge? Because basically, with the research, because you want to contribute to the body of knowledge, you want to be part of the solution, we want to contribute, okay, to solve helping a problem. So, who are qualified to become peer reviewers? Authors who have benefited from the peer review process should consider becoming peer reviewers as a part of their professional responsibilities. Okay, meaning those who have already published papers, meaning to say they can actually be. They're actually qualified to become peer reviewers since they benefited, okay, from the peer review process. Well, this is not, again, a true to all definitions. Anyone interested in becoming a reviewer should look for the journal guidelines on peer review and follow any requirements posted. So this is very important. Anyone, you see that? Anyone interested in becoming a reviewer should look for the journal guidelines because some journals are looking for peer reviewers who have certain H index, like H index of 3, okay, H index of 2, something like that, but not all journals. Again, you have to refer that to the journal guidelines posted in the website of the journals. Potential reviewers should provide journals with personal and professional information that is accurate and a fair representation of their expertise. Very important that you should inform, okay, the journal or the editors about your expertise, including verifiable and accurate contact information, because your name as well will be posted in their website. Agree to review only if you have the necessary expertise to assess the manuscript and can be unbiased in your assessment. So, very important, you have to be very honest whether or not you are qualified to assess certain paper. It is better to identify clearly any gaps in your expertise when asked to review. You have to know your weaknesses. That's also very important because identifying your weaknesses as a reviewer is actually an advantage. The editor can highly appreciate that. That means that you know yourself, you know your qualifications, you know your abilities, and that you can be an asset. So there is no one way to become a reviewer, but there are some common routes, and these include asking a colleague who already reviews for a journal to recommend you. It can be through recommendation, networking with editors at professional conferences. All right. That's why it's also very beneficial when you will be attending conferences, all right, professional gatherings, because it's an opportune time to network with them. Becoming a member of a learned society and then networking with other members in your area. Basically, for example, in my case, have a lot of networks like that with Shara, just one of the many, because it's very important to also foster collaboration and for your professional advantage. Contacting journals directly to inquire if they're seeking new reviewers. This can also be possible. You can go directly to the website. Like there is there the editors. You can contact them if they're looking for reviewers. And sometimes journals are posting that announcement that they're looking for reviewers. So you can just simply apply. Seeking mentorship from senior colleagues is very important. You can do that locally in your universities, for example. You can be an external panel, an external reviewer of a local publication, working for senior researchers who may then delegate peer review duties to you. So there are many opportunities by which you will become a peer reviewer. And why are peer reviewers important in scholarly publication? It says here that peer reviewers play a role in ensuring the integrity of the scholarly record. I'd like to quote integrity, ensuring integrity of the scholarly record. That's what you can see in the picture. Indeed, submitting your paper to scholarly publications is not a walk in the park. You see that? This man here seems to be like wounded, okay, to be hurt when he is going to submit his paper in publication, because the peer reviewers here will act as filters, all right? Filters of bad signs in your manuscript. Many of them will look into the validity, the reliability of the paper, the replicability of the paper, and a lot more. So expect that your paper will become really worthy of publication if you're going to submit it in a scholarly journal, in peer-reviewed journals, especially journals indexed by Scopus or Web of Science. So let's take a look at the models of peer review process. So we have the so-called single blind. Okay, so in other words, journals are adopting to to any or to one of these models of peer review. So if you have single blind, the peer reviewers know the names of the authors, but the authors do not know who reviewed their manuscripts. That's why we have single blind, where the peer reviewers know the names of the authors, but the authors do not know who reviewed their manuscript unless the reviewer chooses to sign the report. So this can happen in preprints where your paper will be published online, where the reviewer knows who the author of this paper. However, the reviewer can have the option to hide his or her identity in the comment. So you can do like that. In double blind review, this is what most of the journals are doing, double blind reviewing or reviews. The reviewers do not know the names of the authors, and the authors do not know who reviewed their manuscripts. So both sides do not know each other. That's a double blind review. We also have open review. Authors know who the reviewers are, and the reviewers know who the authors are. Again, it depends on the policy or the guidelines of the journal, which particular models of peer review um, is being adopted. We also have here transparent, similar to open review in that if the manuscript is accepted for publication, the content of the reviewer reports is openly available. However, the reviewers are not named. So it could be possible, again, depending on the journal's policy. Well, this according to COPE. Council of Publication Ethics. We also have here interactive or collaborative model, usually refers to interaction between the reviewers or between the reviewers and authors to facilitate the review process. The process can be open or anonymous, and in some instances, the reviewers' identities are made known to each other, if not always to the authors. It can also possibly happen, again, depending on the rules of being adopted in a particular journal. We also have here the post publication. So I guess this is new to you, that even if it's already in the for example, even if it's already published, you can still do the reviews. So open peer review operated by a journal that takes place after the manuscript is published, that can also be done. But again, some of the journals do not provide of this kind of facility, but there are independent entities or like website where you can do the post publication. So we also have the post-publication commenting, basically similar to post-publication. It's just that there is an additional of commenting, public commenting or annotation that takes place on a published article. It can be anonymous, for example, PubPeer, or fully open, like PubMed Commons. You can just go to PubPeer. You can just key in the search engine Peer or PubMed Commons, or facilitated by a journal, as what you already mentioned. It can be a facility of a particular journal or an independent entity or an independent website where you can publish your paper. It's just sad to note that PubMed Commons has been already taken down because of, according to the report, because of low engagement. Now we also have preprint commenting, public commenting or annotation that takes place on an article shared on a preprint archive or server. Commenting can be anonymous or open. We see preprint commenting or preprint publication. It's not yet being peer reviewed. Basically, you can publish your paper under Creative Commons licenses. You publish your paper because you would like to get comments from the experts. Again, it can be facilitated by a journal, or you can have an independent entity or independent website where you can publish your materials. This is what we mean by preprint reviews. So this is an example of an independent website. That's preprints.org. You can just go there. You can key in your browser, preprints.org, and you'll be navigated to this interface. The multidisciplinary preprint platform. This is for free. Okay, this is for free. All subjects, you have their arts and humanities, behavioral sciences, biology, chemistry, earth science, and the rest. And this is for free, as what I already made mention. So a preprint is a piece of research that has not yet been peer reviewed. Okay, you would just like to publish your paper because you would like to get comments coming from experts. In most cases, they can be considered final drafts or working papers. So preprints, this is I'm now referring to this particular website, is a multidisciplinary preprint platform that makes scientific manuscripts from all fields of research immediately available. So it is a free, not for-profit service supported by the open access publisher MDPI. So this is going to be their process. Let me use my laser point. So this is your article. You're going to submit that for free, and there is that a very simple screening as to the originality, the validity of the paper, the logic of which, okay, and then after which it will be posted online, and that will be available for commenting by, of course, experts, of course, by anyone, but basically more or less coming from experts of your field. So you'll get an idea what needs to be improved in your paper for future publication. So this is an example of a preprint publication. You have there the authors, as what you can see, and there is a notation there. This version is not peer reviewed. Okay, this version is not peer reviewed. However, there's also a notation here. A peer reviewed article of this preprint also exists, meaning to say it has already done. I mean, it is already, it has gone through publication already. So preprints that pass the screening process are posted online in open access format under a Creative Commons CC by 4.0 license. So this gives maximum visibility to authors while ensuring that they are properly recognized for their work. Once online, preprints can be downloaded, shared, commented on, and cited. So you don't need to worry about the ownership of the paper because it's licensed under Creative Commons CC by 4.0, meaning to say there is no limitation as to the distribution, as to the utilization of the paper. However, those who use the paper must be properly attribute to you as the author. So there's no need to worry because some authors worry that their ideas might be stolen by other people. No, it's under a license and a Creative Commons CC by 4.0 if we're going to avail preprints publication. Now let's take a look at the do's and don'ts of reviewers. This is actually the ethical considerations in publishing papers. Reviewers should, okay, this is the positive one, the do's. Provide timely reviews that are both relevant and constructive. We talk of constructive, you don't just make comments, you have to provide suggestions as how the author can improve, okay, his or her paper. Declare any conflicts of interest, either real or potential. Conflict of interest may be in a form of like a professional, maybe religion, okay? Because these conflict of interest may influence your review, okay, later of the paper. So very important that you have to declare any conflicts of interest relative to the paper that you're receiving. You can always say no, you can always notify the editor. Reviewers should disqualify themselves from review if they feel unable for any reason to provide an honest and unbiased assessment. Again, as influenced by any conflict of interest that you can potentially spot on the paper. Reviewers should notify journals of any limitations to their ability to review a manuscript. Very important that you have to accept any weaknesses, maybe inadequacies on your part to review the paper. It's always, I mean, important and it's perfectly all right. You don't need to worry. Reviewers should declare if they have reviewed a manuscript previously for another journal. If both the editor and reviewer agree that the reviewer can be involved in a second review, he or she should review the manuscript afresh and submit a review based on that assessment. Because you can be a reviewer to not just one journal. You can be a reviewer to many journals depending on your time availability. Now, if you sense that this particular paper um has been submitted to another journal, which happened to that you are one of the reviewers, you can notify the editor of the current journal that this paper has already been submitted in another journal because it's very unethical. Okay, you cannot submit your paper simultaneously to many journals. You have to be committed. You have to be dedicated. You just have to you need to submit your paper to just one journal at a time. Declare a conflict if asked to review a manuscript that is very similar to one they have submitted elsewhere or have in preparation. For example, to you as a reviewer, for example, it's really part of the process that you have to declare that because there's a tendency that you can use the data of the paper that you're reviewing to your own paper, or maybe you can use the idea of the paper being reviewed to your own manuscript, to your own paper. So it would be very important. That's part of the conflict of interest. So reviewers should keep confidential the submission and contents of the manuscript sent to them for review. You cannot post that online to your social media account accounts, you have to take it as confidential. Okay. Reviewers should alert the editor or journal if any circumstances arise that will delay their review in case circumstances change. For example, you have your other priorities, you can always notify the journal editor in case you'll be delayed in submission, because most of the time the journal editor will tell you, okay, you have to submit it after 2 weeks, like that. Provide the comments that can be forwarded to the author separately from any confidential comments for the editor. You can actually provide comments specifically to the editor in case there are such comments that you need to notify to the editor, which you don't like the author to be informed, or yeah, to be informed. Reviewers should make sure that their comments for authors correspond to their assessment of the confidential review forms and checklists. Basically, there must be one-on-one correspondence as to what you have written in the review sheet, like that, which will be forwarded to the author, and to those and to the other review sheet, which will be provided to the journal editor for any comment that you don't like the author to be informed, maybe a comment which is very personal. Report to journals any suspicions of misconduct and ask for advice on how to proceed, especially if you sense that there is any violation to ethical standards of conducting research. You can always report that to the journal editor. Reviewers should not, this is now the don't, okay, of being a reviewer of a particular paper. Reviewers should not agree to review a manuscript just to gain sight of it for personal benefit, with no intention of providing a genuine review. Once you accept it for review, you have to make sure that you'll be able to review it and provide feedback, okay, constructive feedback to the author. You should not accept the paper just because you can benefit from it, like you can get an idea out from it. Reviewers should not contact anyone else about reviewing a manuscript without the knowledge and permission of the journal from which it was received. Very important reminder to everybody. Reviewers should not use information in manuscripts they review for their own or others' benefit or gain, or plagiarize any of the material within those manuscripts. As what I already mentioned, it's very unethical. Okay, it's very unethical. If you'll be utilizing any of the information you have reviewed from the papers to your own paper. Reviewers should not intentionally delay return of their reports. If you're only given like 2 weeks and you have to submit that within 2 weeks, or else you have to inform the journal editor for any delay if circumstances change. Reviewers should not make personal or derogatory comments about authors in their reviews. Yeah, you should not be biased. Should not request that authors include citations to their own work in order to receive additional citations for themselves. This is very unethical. Reviewers should not contact the authors directly about any manuscript they review. You only have the editor. You only have the editor, and you are not allowed to contact the author. But then most of the journals are following double blind review, and so therefore you do not know the author, and you do not also have the contact about the author. So why manuscripts get rejected? So here I was actually looking for a journal which does systematic analysis of the reasons why manuscripts get rejected, and I was able to find this one, Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine. This is published in Sage. This is a systematic analysis of the reasons for rejection. Since this is a systematic meta-analysis, descriptive content analysis of all manuscript rejection reports from the period between January 1, 2018 and March 15, 2020. So the only limitation of this report is that the analysis of the reasons for rejection is only limited to this journal, Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine. However, some of the reasons are actually can be carried over to other journals. They are sometimes generic. For example, we have there reasons for rejection in the first column. You have there desk rejection, post peer review rejection, and post editorial re-review rejection. When we say desk rejection, that's an outright rejection. Like when you submit your paper, the editorial board or the journal editor will have a look on the paper, and if the paper has, for example, committed the following reasons, automatic that will be rejected. That's what we mean by desk rejection. That's an outright rejection. We also have post peer review rejection, meaning to say the paper has gone through peer review, and after the review of the editor now finds that the paper has the following or has committed the following, lacks novelty, originality, and all, then that can also be rejected. And you also have your post editorial re-review rejection. You see that? So even if your paper has gone through a peer editing, there's no guarantee that it can be readily published. So there is still a chance that that can be rejected, given the following reasons: lack of novelty or originality. Basically, you have to establish the gap, why you need to study this one, the urgency of conducting the study, out of scope. That's why you have to go to the website of the journal and look for the author guidelines. Usually, the scope of the journal is being published in there, so you'll have to be very careful on that. Because if you'll be submitting a paper out of their scope, more or less, it will be rejected. Design flaws, okay, improper study design for the stated objective, lack of control group, poor control of confounders, the confounding variables, which are potential influencers of the findings. And we also have your obsolete or weak methodology. So if the methodology is flawed, basically that will be rejected. And there are also ethics related errors. For example, ethical issues, lack of informed consent. Basically, you'll have to secure approval from the ethics committee. Plagiarism, you see that. And duplication or duplicate submission can also be one of the reasons for rejection of your paper. Poor presentation, poor elaboration of methods, poor writing, poor presentation of the results. That is why, again, you have to look for the author guidelines if you're going to submit your paper, because everything is there. Okay, everything is there. Measurement errors, maybe errors of like questionnaires, maybe measurement errors, wrong conclusions, errors in data analysis, multiple comparisons, or improper test for stated objectives, basically. Long delay for submitting comments on published article. Exactly. That can be one of the reasons for this rejection or for rejection of the paper. I was able to experience this one. Poor quality review articles. For this is for review articles. All right, for review articles, non-systematic or poor synthesis of findings. That can be one of the those are some of the reasons for rejecting your paper. It can also be suggestions for technical modifications not followed despite repeated reminders, because the reviewing here is not does not happen only once. It can be there are several iterations. Like, okay, a review is given to you, and after the revision, it will be submitted back to the editor. And if there are still areas which are not addressed, the paper will be sent back again to you. So if in case after several iterations and still you have not addressed the suggestions for improvement, that can be one of the reasons for rejecting your paper. Small sample size for quantitative research, rejected due to hugely delayed revisions by the authors because of concerns about the long delay in publishing affecting the recency of data. Exactly. And inadequate discussion can be some of the reasons for rejecting your paper. You see that? So I put in here the interpretation so you can read along. So the most common reasons for this rejection, that's what I already made mention, outright rejection, were lack of novelty or originality, then being out of the journal scope, and other common reasons included improper study design, lack of approval from ethics committee, poor and intelligible language, very important. That's why some of the journals have like language editing facility. Now you'll just have to pay, and use of improper tools or measures. And the most commonly pointed out rejection reasons for rejection following peer review, meaning your paper has gone through review and now now the paper reaches to the table of the editor. It can still be rejected. Most of the reasons are inadequate elaboration of the methodology, meaning the methodology is not clear, poor or unscientific writing, basically, inappropriate or inadequate discussion, weak study rationale, fatal methodological flaws related to the study design. We'll be talking a little bit about fatal methodological flaws. What do we mean by fatal methodological flaws, and what are the examples? And we have also here the most common reasons for rejection following editorial re-review. Okay, it has been reviewed by the editor and being reviewed again. Sometimes the associate editors will be reviewing, okay, the papers reviewed by the editor. So again, depending on the protocols followed by journals, were similar. For example, inadequate elaboration of the methodology, poor writing style, weak study rationale, flaws in study design, lack of study novelty, and incorrect choice of study instruments or measures. So basically, if you're not going to write properly, if you're not going to address them, your paper will be most possibly rejected. So this rejection was the most common type of rejection across manuscript types, basically. Okay, more than two-thirds of original articles and review articles and more than half of case report letters were des rejected. What do you mean by fatal flaws? These are involving aspects central to a study, such as errors in framing the reader's question and errors in study design, such as improper study design, choice of instruments, or lack of control group. All of these are aspects that cannot be corrected once the study is completed. That's why they're termed as fatal flaws. And based on the systematic review of this of this author, common fatal flaws noted in the study included lack of novelty, originality in research question, because that cannot be undone, errors in study design, lack of ethical approval, and wrong choice of study measures. We cannot do if these are mistakenly done. We also have the not so fatal flaws, flaws such as overstating the results, applying inappropriate statistical tests, not correcting for multiple comparisons, and improper or inadequate comparisons with extent studies or studies represent errors that can be fixed at the review stage. So that's why they are termed or labeled as not so fatal flaws because they can be repaired along the process of reviewing. So, common non fatal flaws noted for manuscript rejection were poor presentation or writing, errors in data analysis, and drawing improper conclusions. That can be corrected in the process. So, manuscript rejection, is it the end of the world for that manuscript? This is a very good question, actually, especially for beginning researchers. I am a beginning researcher. Obviously, not. Okay, obviously not. It's not the end of the world for that manuscript if it gets rejected. You have to realize there are many reasons for rejection, and please do not be disappointed and do not take it personally. All right. Remember that writing is a skill and that can be honed over time. Maybe you are not yet exposed to writing, or maybe it's your first time. That's why you get rejected. You have to bear that in mind. Okay. Do not take it personally. It's just a paper. Okay, it's just a paper. And always remember, writing is a genre. It's not for everybody. Writing is a skill. All right, it can be honed over time. Please do not get disappointed. Be mature enough to understand the comments, and you have to address the comments point by point. And you have to be mature, meaning to say, do not be dismayed, and you have to understand clearly what is being asked in the comment. Invigorate yourself. Authors have to become their own best editor, best critic, and strongest supporter. That's why it's good to collaborate. Okay, so you can support each other. There is like a support system so that you can push through in the publication, because publication, as what I already mentioned, is really not a walk in the park. Okay, it's not as easy as what you think. It entails a lot of mental toil. Ask your competitor or peer group having the knowledge of the subject matter to read it, giving additional comments. Let's say we have preprints, okay, publication, because you can publish your paper in there, and ask for comments so you can improve on something before you submit your paper for formal publication. Based on reviewers' comments, improve upon the manuscript and send it to the same journal again. So basically, again, you have to improve on the comments point by point. If one journal rejects your article, then try another one and yet another one. Never surrender until your paper gets published. Again, please try to target journals indexed by Scopus, indexed by Web of Science, if not at least in Asian Citation Index in the context of Asia, in the context of the Philippines, for example. So here's how you're going to address reviewers' comments. Like, this is actually a meme, but then somehow we can get something out from it. From phdcomics.com, you can Google on that. There are so many things that you can be laugh at it. Yeah. Reviewer comment: the method device paradigm the author's propose is clearly wrong. Well, sometimes the reviewer is so blatant, yeah, you'll really get hurt. yeah, exactly. If you are not mature enough to receive comments, you really get hurt. Again, some of the reviewers, some of the editors are very blatant, are just brutally honest. So to put it in words, some of them are brutally honest and that you have to get ready emotionally. So how not to respond? Yes, we know. We thought we could still get a paper out of it. Sorry, it's not really a wrong response. The reviewer raises an interesting concern. Okay. However, as the focus of this work is exploratory and at performance based, validation was not found to be of critical importance to the contribution of the paper. You see that? Very courteous. Reviewers comment: the authors failed to reference the work of Smith and others who solved the same problem 20 years ago. You look at that. Huh? We didn't think anybody had read that. Actually, their solution is better than ours. The reviewer raises an interesting concern. However, our work is based on a completely different first principles and has a much more attractive graphical user interface. All right. Another comment, reviewer of the reviewers comment: this paper is poorly written and scientifically unsound. Okay, I do not recommend it for publication. Well, this is very honest, you know. And you look at and you look at the author. Oh, I know you are. I'm gonna get you when it's my turn to review. You see? And what should be the correct response? The reviewer raises an interesting concern. However, we feel the reviewer did not fully comprehend the scope of the work and misjudge the results based on incorrect assumptions. Basically, this is just a meme. A meme. So you have actually in actual, you'll have to address the comment point by point. Don't you worry, I'm almost up to the end of my slide. All right. Still on the same question, is it the end of the world for that manuscript? Emphasize more on the quality of research rather than being into the numbers game. So if your paper is not accepted by a particular journal, you have to reflect on the quality of your paper, especially if this journal is indexed by Thomson Reuters, the Web of Science Now, or Scopus. Okay, just to fill the pages of the curriculum vitae. This is very unethical because you're supposed to conduct a research because you want to contribute to the body of knowledge theoretically, practically, because you want to be part of the solution. If you're just going to write just to impress people, because there are many predatory journals out there and they can just accept your paper overnight. You see that? Please, please do not go for these publications. Keep thinking. Give some time daily, and you will be served with new ideas, thoughts, phrases, text to improve upon your manuscript. Taking it to the extremes of betterment. Please allow yourself to hibernate. Do not push too much. Okay, do not push yourself too much. Sometimes you need to, find breaks in between. You need to hibernate. You need to relax so that when you wake up, you'll have a fresh and new insights about your paper. Basically, the paper will become bloody, okay? When you send your paper to a journal, especially if you do not think about it very carefully, if you do not pour your intellect, if you do not pour your focus into it, because it really needs focus. When I submitted my paper, this is the journal is under Asian Citation Index. It's like it was also depressing on my part because it's like on the second column is actually the reviews, the comments of the reviewers. It's like everything is overhauled. It's like I'm making my I mean it's like I made a new paper out from what I submitted, something like that. But then yeah, after which I learned something and I was able to publish my paper under Asian Citation Index journals. Okay, I just saw this one, a post particularly, yeah, a post of my friend on Facebook. You have there, published without the rejection. This is a myth. You know what? Published without the rejection, English editors. And let me just read the content. Dear colleague, according to the research, most articles face the rejection of high impact academics journals, and this is true because thereafter of the quality of the paper, it has also been confirmed that other journals that aspire to reach a high impact standard not follow their example. Oh, therefore, it is important that as an excellent writer, author in your field, you deserve to be published in a high impact journal without being rejected. That is why we give our time and effort to give you the honor you deserve and to save you the time and effort you can waste in multiple rejections by reviewing and thoroughly editing editing your document in search of errors that may cause rejection according to the publication of your journal's editorial policy or pricing. You see that? You'll have the $250 within 48 hours, $150 for 5 working days, and $100 for 10 working days. And what can you expect of this journal? And as soon as you receive the comments, always remember you have to work on it because most of the time we belong to this caller thinking about writing your thesis. You're just always thinking and not acting on it. So once you receive the comments, once you're writing your thesis, your dissertation, or your academic paper for publication, always act on it. We'll have to broaden this color, this yellow, actually writing your thesis, actually writing your paper, because most of the time we just feel busy. We just feel we are doing something. We just feel we're writing, but in reality, we're doing nothing. Okay, so for us to be productive, we have to act on it because. And we have to write well because the reviewers and the editors are just lurking around waiting for your papers to be reviewed and look at your paper. You know, it's dying, especially when you do not write according to the standards. If as much as what the author guidelines are stating there. That's why you have to be thorough. Okay, you have to be thorough in writing your paper. I guess that would be all. And before I end, let me tell everybody happy researching for your scientific writing. Thank you very much. If you would like to, my email is here, rex.lim@deped.gov.ph. If you would like to, ask further, if you'd like to collaborate. Thank you so much.
All right. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's Dr. Ritz Lim in his presentation on peer reviewing, all right, of a manuscript. All right. Sir, thank you for making time to sit through this presentation. It was lively, engaging, and fulfilling because of your presence. I was particularly interested in your discussion on uh, the reason why manuscript get rejected. And this is so appropriate because I'm sure a bunch of our live audience are also professionals who are actually engaged in the research work. And so, by the tips that you've shared upon us, and then I'm pretty sure they will now be preparing for that. All right, they will be preparing for the expectations that they might encounter when they are on the verge of submitting their paper, and then because of the tips that you shared with them, and then I'm sure they will know how to. Prepare for it and do away with the ugliest form of rejection that you were saying over and over and over again. All right. And I was so quite impressed with you sharing us the qualification of peer reviewer. Uh, I'm quite sure also a lot of our audience right now will also be planning to become a certified peer reviewer, and that would actually take as their second career, for instance, or do we be taking it as a part-time job? The question is, do we have an institution here in the Philippines that actually provide training for this or certification for being a certified reviewer? Okay, for our live audience to get to know, and then if they wish to become a certified peer reviewer, and then they know what to do. All right. And also, I was so impressed with you sharing with us the models of peer reviewer. I mean, peer reviewing, like we have the single blind and the double blind, and now we are actually equipped with the procedures on the peer reviewing process, and also for showing us the do's and don'ts. All right. And then because I'm taking notes, and I also like the profound statement that you've mentioned earlier about when you get rejected, and do not think of it as the end of the world, right? It's somehow provide relief to some of those researchers who get rejected. Come to think of it, it's really not the end of the world. There is always a room for improvement. Just keep on. I like your statement by saying try another one. and another one, and yet another one until this become accepted. All right. Thank you for such
Yeah.
a very profound statement. All right. So for that reason, I once again thank you, sir, for such a very commendable job, and we are also looking forward to having you again in our next series. Your presence here definitely enriched this lecture, and for this we remain grateful. All right. So again, thank you so much, Dr. Rex Yin, for that very wonderful presentation. All right. So before we proceed with our quiz online game competition, allow me to express our congratulations to Dr. Jovan Santos, okay, for showing your continued support to IGP for having a regular attendance in our webinar series. So for that reason, IGP is awarding you a lifetime membership certificate. All right, so can we all give a round of applause to Dr. Jovan T. Santos? All right, thank you so much for showing us your continued support by having a regular attendance on our webinar series. All right, so at this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, we are now uh, opening this program for the online quiz competition. And now, all right, here we go. So we have to pave this way for the online quiz game competition. And then we have so many players coming up. As of now, we have 146 players who are just joining in for our online quiz competition. Okay, once you get yourself registered or once you join for the competition, automatically your name will appear on the screen. So as of this time, we have 160 participants who just joining in. All right. For those who have not yet joined, kindly please take note of the code that's posted on the screen. That's IGPQUIZZ01. That's IGPQUIZ01. All right. All you have to do is you simply copy that one and type it into the window on the slido.com browser and then press enter. Then after that, you're good to go. In just a few minutes, all right, we have to begin with our online quiz competition. But it seems that we are still waiting for some of our live attendees who will be joining for the quiz online competition for tonight's webinar. So as of now, we have 184 participants who officially join for our online quiz competition. More players are still coming in. So there are a total of 223 this time. All right. For those who would like to join with our online quiz game competition, you have the code on the screen. Kindly type that one into the window of slido.com browser and then press enter and then you're good to go. So as of now, we have 243 players who just joining in. All right. So we have to wait for more players who are just joining in. And in a few seconds, our online quiz competition will surely begin. So we have 260 players. All right. Certificate of quiz completion awaits those top 10 lucky winners who would have the most high number of points during this online quiz game competition. And make sure, guys, that you can submit your answer as fast as you can because that's going to be the basis of the Slido in ranking your order. All right. So you will notice that you'll be having a, tiebreaker score, but Slido will rank you on the least amount of time that you spent in submitting your answer. So make sure that upon reading the question and then make sure that you submit the question as fast as you can. All right. So we have, as of now, we're having 282 participants. So let's now start the quiz competition. So we have here question number one. What is a research? Okay, the choices are a learning and sharing process. Choice number two, finding the main idea of a passage, providing details to support an answer, or the subject or topic. All right, go find the right answer. Okay, so the correct answer is a learning and sharing process. 44% of our live attendees got the correct answer. Congratulations. We're now on question number two. Classification of research paradigms include the options are deductive, inductive, and productive, positivist, critical, and interpretive, negativist, uncritical, and interpretive. And the last option is positivist, critical, and productive. All right, so 60% of our live attendees responded with deductive, inductive, and productive. And the correct answer is the first option, that's deductive, inductive, and productive. Again, congratulations, but the majority of our players got the correct answer. And we're now on question number three. The first part of the research process involves the options are identifying the problem or issue, critically reviewing the primary and conceptual literature, identify research ideas, questions, statements, hypotheses, and all of the above. Slido is now tabulating your scores. Slido, please reveal the correct answer. It's the option all of the above. All right. Again, congratulations. 47% or majority of our players got the correct answer. All right. Congratulations, guys. I think you're doing fine. Okay, so we're now on question number four. The last part of the research process involves the choices are analyzing collected research data, determining research results or findings, okay, So 74% of our players voted for the option all of the above. And congratulations, that's the correct answer. You really got it. All right. Now for question number 5. The ideas or the idea you form after reviewing the results of your experiment is observations, conclusion, experimentation, or hypothesis. Which do you think, guys, is the correct answer? All right. Slido, please give us the correct answer. And the correct answer is that's conclusion. Congratulations. Majority or 66% of our players got the correct answer. For question number 6, when writing a research report, you make a blank, back it up with blank, and support with blank. Options are research, question, hypothesis, data, claim, evidence, reasons, thesis, hypothesis, evidence, or hypothesis, evidence, data. All right? 52% of our players say it's 52, I mean, it's research, question, hypothesis, data. Unfortunately, that's not the correct answer. It's option claim, evidence, and reasons. Oh, only 7% of our players got the right answer. All right. Anyway, number 7 question, we have a research hypothesis is also known as the options are a causal hypothesis, a scientific hypothesis, a non-directional hypothesis, or a directional hypothesis. Slido, please give us the correct answer. Here we go. It's a scientific hypothesis, and 78% or majority of our players made it. So, for that reason, congratulations. All right. So, second to the last question, resumes, curricula, vitae or curriculum vitae or vita. A research reports can all be a thought of as genres of or styles of writing. Is that true or false? Resumes, curriculum vitae, and research reports can all be thought of as genres or styles of writing. 86% of our players said it's true, and that's the correct answer. Congratulations, guys. You did it. All right. Oh, yes. For the second to the last question, we have which is not a section of a scientific research paper? Is it abstract, ending, introduction, or results? Which do you think is the appropriate answer, guys? Slido, please reveal the correct answer. Majority of our players said it's ending, and that's the correct answer. Again, round of applause to our lucky players. They're doing fine. They got the correct answer. For the last question for tonight's online quiz game competition, an important part of a scientific research is repeatability. Is that true or false? Repeatability. Slido now will show us which one is the correct answer. And the correct answer is Slido, please. It's true. Okay. Fortunately, majority or 63% of our players got the correct answer. Okay. So congratulations, players. You're doing a good job. Okay. We are now showing you the leaderboard. All right. And the results of your score. Okay, so there you have it. Kindly please check your name if you have it on the screen. So we have Christine Sinorio, Leah Facunla, Charles Ryan Solan Ulidan, Winfredo P. Is that Benito? Jasper Joseph Manrique. Okay, that's for top five, but we will be awarding 10 lucky players from top one down top 10. All right. So, again, congratulations to all of our top players who made it for tonight's quiz game competition. You can download your certificate of quiz completion right after this webinar. All right. So, congratulations to our top player. That's Christine Cisnorio. Shout out to Christine Cisnorio for making it to the top. All right. Again, you'll be receiving your online quiz game completion right at the end of our webinar. All right. Or you could simply find the link that will be posted or pin post on the comment section down below. And once you click that one, and then you'll be redirected to that page where you can actually download your certificate or e-certificate of quiz online game competition or completion rather. And if for any reason you'll be having difficulty in downloading your certificate, all right, so we're back to take some questions that's been sent by our live attendees just earlier. All right, so are you ready,
So
speakers, for
yeah,
the series of questions that will be provided by our live attendees for tonight's event? Okay, so we have here the first question from Feruz Akbarov. Question to both speakers. Research carried out by renowned scholars usually leaves little or no room for young researchers to make a breakthrough within the respective field. How to address this unfair phenomenon? Anyone care for the question? Who's going to answer first?
can I say something? Can I go first?
Sure.
Yeah, I'd like to take this question. Let me read again. Research carried out by renowned scholars usually leaves little or no room for young researchers to make a breakthrough within the respective field. In the first place, I am confused. Why is this a question? Because
Yes. Yes. Yes.
what do you mean by breakthrough? How do we define a breakthrough here? Because a breakthrough doesn't necessarily be grand. You know that? A
Yes.
breakthrough doesn't necessarily be grand because the gap of research doesn't necessarily be that big in order to contribute to the body of knowledge. So therefore, I guess I don't think this is really a, a very sound question. How to address this unfair phenomenon? This is not for me. This is not a phenomenon, and this is not unfair because it depends on the researchers it depends on the researcher and how he or she is going to craft his or her research in such a way that he or she can contribute to the body of knowledge. That's why literature review is very important to make sure that there is a gap in literature where you can join to the global conversation about the problem in your specific field. It's really all up to you. There's nothing unfair about it because you yourself it's about you. You are the ones determining how you make it, how you can make a breakthrough. And again, a breakthrough doesn't necessarily be grand, and the gap of research doesn't necessarily be big. For as long as you have a contribution practically to your community, imagine that you can have a practical contribution to your community, to your specific community, and that it's all right, and that's okay. Action research is a very simple research which has a local theory, which is applicable, which is operational in a specific classroom, in a specific school, in a specific situation, and this is being celebrated. That's my take.
All right, thank you, sir, for that very insightful answer. What about Sir Felix? Do you have your own take about this question?
Actually, I got confused about young researchers. Yeah. So, you mean if you mean young, so in other words, there are some researchers who are what do you call that one? They have their experience. So I guess that would be the question.
Novice.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think the way I understand the point of view of one of our live attendees, because when you talk about renowned scholars, they have established their own name, right? They're good at it. They're famous for coming up with a very research that is of good quality. So that, that's we cannot do something about that. Now, being a young researchers, of course, we have to do something to at least catch up with that kind of what they call this standard that the renowned scholars have already established. All right, so that's it. That's a reality that we cannot do something about it. All right, being a young researchers, of course, you have lots of things to improve in yourself to really establish your own name in the days to come and also become a renowned scholars. Do not think of uh, not having a breakthrough research, of course. Uh, that's why I really appreciate your statement on being a positivist. All right, you have to be optimistic. All right, do not be a negative person. Do not think of negativity. Otherwise, you cannot proceed along the way, and you cannot even achieve your goal for being so negative. The thing is, always think positive, and keep on doing self reflections, and then keep on improving yourselves because someday you also will become a model. That's my take.
Correct.
Anyway,
I agree.
anyway, Anyway, let's proceed with the next question. This one is from Jacob Iniego Salazar. Question for Sir Felix. All right. Many problems are facing scientific research, such as funds, availability of suitable lab or laboratory, or lack of supervisors. Could you speak about your experience and how did you solve them? Thank you.
Actually, in my college years, I'm also assistant of the vice president for the academic affairs as well as the director for research. Of um, what um, what was done was she applied for the OST funding for her study. And also for me, in St. Mary College of Caraga, so we're trying to apply for funding from like from Department of Science and Technology. And also we need also to collaborate, especially for the experimental studies, because it's really hard for our school because we have a laboratory, but um, we don't have sufficient materials for example, the chemicals and how to treat that one.
Okay. So, in other words, for you to establish a scientific research, first
We need
consideration is you
collaboration,
have to, yes, you have to establish collaboration
yes, with other
and make sure
agency.
that, yes, and make sure that it will get funded. Otherwise, how can you like continue pursuing your research paper when you lack funds? So, the
Yes,
first consideration is make sure that this gets funded from any institution that actually providing support to a research paper. All right. So thank you, sir, for that very insightful answer. We have here from Ma'am Rodeline Caro. This one is for Dr. Lin. How someone can apply to be a peer? That's exactly what I'm asking. How someone can apply to be a peer reviewer?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Ma'am Rodeline Caro. I guess I already made mention about some of the ways to become a peer reviewer. Maybe this is an oversight question, but just to reiterate, we can apply to be a peer reviewer. You can apply. You can go to different journals. Most of the time, they have their posting for reviewers' applications. You can just click on there and look for the application requirements, and then wait for the response. It's one thing. It can also be through referral. For example, Sir Felix is here and Sir Felix knows me. He can refer to me as one of the reviewers in his journals, for example. It can be through collaborations, international collaborations. Like you know somebody who is an editor of a particular journal and this editor knows you, then he or she can request you depending on your specialization and then availability to become one of the peer reviewers. So there are many ways. There are many ways. But you have to make an effort how to become one. If you do not have your colleagues, if you didn't have the peers, if you didn't have the like, if you did not have the connection, then please take some efforts to Google journals. And there again, some of the postings there are they're looking for reviewers. For example, it's being posted, and you can definitely apply based on certain criteria, basically based on certain qualifications. As what I mentioned, some of the journals are looking for reviewers who already have high H index, like a 2, H index of 2, of 3, of 5, depending on the reputation as well of the journals, because the reputation of the peer reviewers reflect on the reputation of the journals, basically. So as novice researchers, we cannot be choosy. Especially if we do not have yet that publications and we do not have yet the citations, we cannot have the H index.
Can I
Yes.
say something?
Yes, sure, sure.
For our journals, we need also a peer reviewer. So if you want, so you can PM me, and then I will send to you my email, because we have 7 journals here in our school.
Sir, I would appreciate, can you like, in my case, can you like give me your email address? We can drop it down on our chat. All right.
Okay.
I do have friends who also are also planning to become a certified peer reviewer. But to the questionnaire, you can also check. There are several training institutes online, like Pueblon Community. If I'm not mistaken, that's Pueblon Community. It's, I think, in America, wherein they are offering a peer reviewing courses, and then on a self-paced basis, and then they will be giving you several modules, like module 1, module 2, module 3, and then after the module, you have to undergo quizzes, and then they will be giving you a somewhat like a ready-made research paper, and then what you need to do is you have to review and do some editing, something like that. Because my friends was once a peer reviewer, and then I actually observed what he was done by applying for that particular certifications for a peer reviewer. You can also check, and there's so, man, there are tons of uh, training online. Okay, for that purposes.
Can,
Okay, so we
can I say
have
something on
here.
that? Can I
Yes,
add
sir.
on
Yes,
that? Yeah, that's
yes,
actually
sure.
a certification course that's under Clarivate Analytics, the problems that you're mentioning. Like after that, you'll be certified as a peer
Yes,
reviewer.
it's perfect.
Uh,
Yes, yes,
yes,
yes.
that's a certification course.
Okay. And one thing I like about that is once you are certified as a peer reviewer, and then they will be including you in their pool of experts or pool of peer
Exactly.
reviewers, and
Yeah,
then you'll be on call.
correct.
Okay.
Because you
So
can
time
be a
would come.
mentor. Yeah,
Yes, you become one of the mentors. So
yeah.
it's also an opportunity among the Filipinos who are actually fond of doing research. Okay, if research is your cup of tea, and so this is it, go grab it. All right, and then so we have another question from Jacob Inigo Salazar. This one is for Dr. Lim. What is your stand or thought regarding some referred and published research as review standards may be lower in less prestigious journals?
Yeah, thank you.
This is a
Hi,
good question.
Jacob. Hi, Jacob. Maybe lower in less prestigious journals. Maybe we have to define what is standard because sometimes the term standard is very relative to a particular journal. We talk of for as long as it's refereed a journal, I guess it worthy for our papers to be submitted for as long as it's refereed. When we talk about prestigious journals, these are journals being indexed by Clarivate Analytics, by Scopus, for example. They're it's like they're the golden rules of publication. They're like the standards when we talk of publication. That's why the term prestigious when the journals are indexed by Scopus and Clarivate Analytics. But when we talk of refereed, for as long as it's refereed, there's nothing wrong with that. We can publish our papers for as long as it's refereed, for as long as our papers are being returned with a lot of comments on it. For me, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, we cannot compare it. If we, especially for novice researchers, we cannot be too ambitious to crack top tier journals because the admission policy is very rigorous and the admission rate is very low. So if we cannot crack top tier journals, we might as well try journals which are refereed. Okay, which are refereed, not necessarily indexed in Scopus and Clarivate Analytics. That is your kickoff. Okay, that is your kickoff to go to publishing your paper to top tier journals, and there's nothing wrong with that, for as long as it's not predatory, so to call it.
All
Can I
right,
say
thank you,
something?
sir. Yes, sure.
Okay, every journal has its own standard. For example, in our journal, we have editorial policy. It's part of the editorial policy. So every journal has its own standard. And for example, criterion, for example, in the grammar and plagiarism. So what would be the um, percent, for example, for grammar and plagiarism? Yeah. And also you can submit your for example, if you have research papers, you can also submit your articles in our journals. It is free, and it is our journal has an ISSN, so it is international and found in Hollis Harvard Library, and also indexed in Google Scholar Crossref, and it is also a peer-reviewed journal.
Okay, thank you for sharing your and what is this? Your opinion about that question. But I think we also have to take into consideration that standard varies from one journal to another journal, from institution to institution, from country to country. So it depends on where you're actually applying. Like for instance, when you're applying for a certain journal for publication, and then you have to know its standard. Like what you have included in your presentation about the abstract, you mentioned about 200 words, while some other
Yes,
publications said it's 250 would be good enough for them, and some others say 300. So it really,
varies.
yes, varied. There's no uniform standard among established universities and journals. So it really depends upon the organization that you are actually sending your manuscript for possible publication. All right.
Can
So
also can I add something?
yes, sure.
Yeah, very quickly, very quickly. Yeah, I really agree with you both that institutions have different standards. But when a particular journal is indexed on a particular like indexing company like that of Clarivate Analytics, like that of Scopus, these journals have more or less similar accepting protocols because they are like accrediting
Mhm.
bodies. This Clarivate
Yes.
Analytics is like Scopus, this Asian Citation Index. So basically, they have more or less similar rigor of accepting papers.
All right. Thank you, sir, for making clear, okay, about that issue. Okay, so we have from MJ or Teofilo Damoco. To our dear speakers, so anyone can take the question for this matter. Can we engage with you for peer review activities for us to make a start on this field? Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
Thank
a
you for
nice question.
exactly. Thank you for this question. Yeah, maybe my email is was posted in the slide. You can just email me and we can make it formal. Can make it formal.
Yes. Just to make sure that your manuscript would be of good quality, make sure that it's being reviewed by the two eminent speakers that we are having right now. All right. So we have from Francis Eliza Mamano. Okay. Again, question to both speaker. Is there any application which will be beneficial in examining a paper if it goes with plagiarism? This is also a good question.
Go, Felix.
I
It's
guess you can
also
use.
part. Yes, I mean is it also part of the job of a peer reviewer to check whether the manuscript actually committed plagiarism?
Well, that's a very nice question. Yeah.
Yes,
Can I say something before I'll turn this forward to Felix? Yeah. When the paper is submitted to a particular journal, usually this is the first thing to do. The editor, for example, will subject the paper to plagiarism software like Turnitin, and if it's found to have higher rate of similarity index, automatic that is due for desk rejection. That's a ground for outright rejection if the similarity index is not acceptable, if it's beyond the rate of acceptance in a particular journal. Basically, yeah, basically it's in the first level. If it passes through that level, the paper will be forwarded to peer reviewers for commenting. Basically, not the job of the peer reviewer. Felix.
I see.
Actually, in our school, we have also turned it in and Grammarly software to check the manuscript before submitting to the peer reviewers.
Correct.
Okay, so once your paper is found to have committed plagiarism, then automatically it will be rejected.
And not totally rejected, but it will subjected to for an to send back to the author
I
for
see.
revision for
For
paraphrase.
further revisions.
Yes,
Really, it's not the end of the world.
yes,
Okay. We have a Facebook user who refused to be identified, and his question is to Dr. Rex Lim. As a researcher, how can I combine English for specific purposes to using technology and motivation? Thank you so much.
Oh, this is a very specific question. I guess not so much related to peer reviewing. Dear Facebook
Yes,
user, you can just email to me and we can talk something about it. Okay? Yeah.
yes. Okay. How about Sir Felix? Do you have your own take about this question? I actually, it's for Sir Rex. Okay, so can we have another question? Okay. Could that be all for our question and answer segment for tonight's webinar? All right, so for that reason, on behalf of the Institute of Global Professional, we would like to take this opportunity to express our heartfelt thanks and appreciation to our speakers for taking time off of their busy schedule and join us for tonight's webinar. It's a pleasure having you here, guys, and sharing your sea of knowledge and wisdom about scientific research paper and reviewing. All right. And we are looking forward to having you here again for our next series. Can we expect it from you, guys?
yes,
Thank you. All right, so we have an announcement. Okay, please do watch out for the launching of our Android app. All right, for your easy access. IGP will be launching sooner or later our Android app. Okay, so most probably you can have it check on Android store. All right. We have to remind everyone that IGP is it's a non-profit training institute and organization, and we don't receive any penny for doing this job. Okay, we keep on insisting that one. So please maintain or refrain from promoting your business with IGP. All right, because we have to remind everyone that it's a not totally non-profit. Okay, we are only using single Facebook page and YouTube channel. All right, so In case you manage to find a Facebook account and YouTube channel that's using an IGP, definitely that's a clone or that's fake, because we are only using a single Facebook page, okay, and YouTube channel. All right. Okay. So we saw that those knowledge seeker, we are referring to you guys, our live audience who join us from our group, who who are not able to click on given link because of stream or stream restrictions. So you are being requested to join to attend our session. Okay. For certificate, please browse. That's www.edu or aduigp.com directly. Okay. And IGP will be sharing you the link in group. Okay. Also from now. And then if you missed something in our webinar for tonight, okay, all you have to do is you simply check our website directly. Okay. So I think yes, we have a Facebook group and we have a Facebook. We have actually a two Facebook page. We have the Facebook group and we have the Facebook page specifically created for the Institute of Global Professional. Okay, and starting August 15, if it's okay with you guys, and then we have to make our live webinar on a daily basis. All right. If you have any concern, any comment on this, kindly please let us know down in the comment section below. If it's okay with you, if we are going to launch our live webinars on a daily basis, just let us know. Okay, we are so glad to hear your feedback about this new arrangement. Okay, from August 5. Okay, so we have a double bonus. Okay, that's to be provided by the IGP. From September, we will arrange a webinar plus a panel discussion program on weekend. That's going to be Saturday or Sunday. It's on a morning time. That's starting from September 1. Okay, so please do check that one out. Starting September 1, we'll be having a webinar plus panel discussion program on weekend. Okay, Saturday or Sunday morning session. All right, so please mark your calendar for September 1st for the uh, a new program that's going to be launched by the IGP. Another double bonus, right, that's to be given away by the Institute of Global Professional is, okay, starting October, we will be arranging a FDP and SSTP program for your organization. All right. So kindly please check this one out in the coming days. There'll be some, or there'll be a tendency that your organization will be somewhat like accredited, okay, by the IGP for the FDP and SSTP program that's going to be launched by the Institute of Global Professional in the coming days. So please do check that one out. Okay, so what you are seeing on the screen is the procedures or steps on how can you actually download your e-certificate free of charge. The first thing you need to do is, of course, you have to make use of the certificate code. Okay, the certificate code must from July 12, 2021, which available on video session certification part. Okay, so you can see that on a video sessions. Okay, without certificate code, okay, definitely you cannot download your e-certificate that's free of charge. So you really have to have this certificate code for you to download your e-certificate. Video will be available always on our Facebook page, okay, on our website, and on our YouTube channel. So we'll be posting our recorded video webinars on our Facebook page, on the IGP website, and at the same time on our YouTube channel. So you can check that one out. All right. For those who want to learn, okay, everyone can join us on live sessions or maybe later on our recorded sessions. So we are inviting everyone to please be a member, be a part of our number one growing community worldwide. That's Institute of Global Professionals. All right. If you want to learn, if you want to enhance your knowledge and you want to improve your skills, simply join us. That's the answer. All right. And of course, we don't have restrictions for learning. We don't discriminate. Anyone can join. Anyone from around the world, okay, can join with our live webinar. Okay, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of race, regardless of color, discrimination has no place for the Institute of Global Professional because our only focus is to keep you learn anything, okay, that you want, okay, because learning is a must. All right. And that's a profound statement from IGP. The beautiful thing about learning is nobody can take it away from you. And that's according to BB King. All right. Okay, so we are now the step-by-step procedures on how you could download your e-certificate. Okay. Okay, so kindly please take note of the name of the webinar that we are having right now. And then once you take note of that title of the webinar, and then you simply find the link. Okay, we are now showing the certification. Simply redirecting actually download free e certification link now available in the comment box, so you can find that one out. Okay, there are two ways in which you can claim your certification. Okay, the first one is you can do it on a direct link, okay, down the comment section below. It's a pinned post. You can easily find that one because it's being pinned, okay, as well as the post description. All right. So if you cannot do that, or if for some reason, okay, or if all else fails, and then please directly check out our page or website. That's www.eduigp.com for all information together, okay, for further assistance on how you can actually easily claim your certificate that's free of charge. Of course, you have to find today's program. Okay, so what you are seeing now on the screen is the screenshot of our website. Okay, so once you are logging in, okay, you will directly land into this page. Okay, this is the land way directed. Okay, so you can enroll now. Of course, the first thing you need to do is you have to enroll first, and then after getting yourself enrolled, okay, you simply log in. But of course, if you are new to IGP, better yet, create your account first. All right. So after having your account, after registering your own account using your own username and password, and then log in directly. Okay. After log in, that's how you can actually download your certificate. But of course, you have to make use of the certificate code. Okay, that's on the screen. The certificate code for our webinar for tonight entitled Scientific Research, Writing and Reviewing is IGP 777. That's IGP 777. Again, we have to remind you over and over again that without code, definitely you can hardly download your e-certificate that's free of charge. Okay. Okay, again, please do take note of our code for tonight's webinar. That's IGP 777 or 777. Otherwise, you cannot download your e-certificate if you fail to take note of that certificate code. And we also have to remind everyone here that quiz code and certificate code are not actually the same. Okay, they're not the same. So please be guided accordingly. Okay. So again, we are showing you the screenshot of our uh, website. Okay, showing you on how you could get the certification code. This is where you will get the certification code. All right, and this is where you have to put in the certificate code, brother. Okay, the one with a red arrow pointing to that window. That's where you have to type in or put the certificate code. That's IGP 777. All right. I hope you're being guided properly. Okay. So upon having your code, you simply type that IGP 777 or the certificate code on that window. Okay, as displayed on the screen. Okay. And also we have to remind everyone that our free international webinar certificate is an auto downloadable in PDF format. So better yet, check your device for compatibility. Okay, check your file manager because sometimes it looks uncompleted. When you happen to download, there might be a tendency that you miss out downloading your e-certificate for some reasons. It could be a problem on your own device. Okay, I mean your mobile phone. So better yet, check that one out. Okay, in PDF file, everything is gonna be okay. Okay, so what we are now seeing on the screen is a sample of a certificate template that you'll be receiving. Okay, once you download successfully your e-certificate that's free of charge. All right, so you have your, we have on step 6, your certificate is ready. All right, and then on the bottom part is we have this a verified certificate. Okay, so I think IGP is also uh, integrating a certification code for our certificate for tonight's webinar. And we also remind everyone that you can join our live programs from our Facebook page, from our Facebook group. That's what I have told you earlier. And of course, from our YouTube channel and then from our website. So you can choice or you can make your own choice from any of these platforms. We have two Facebook account. Okay, we have Facebook page and we do have another Facebook group. We have one YouTube channel and of course we have our own website. Okay, if you happen to miss any of our program due to some unavoidable issues like a huge volume of traffic internet, still you can attend previous webinar with verified certificates. All right. All you have to do is you simply check our YouTube channel and then keep on replaying the webinar video that's being posted or uploaded on our YouTube channel. Okay, we also have to remind everyone that sometimes our website is down due to huge number of internet traffic. Dear participants, if any problem raised, if there is any problem raised as to how you can claim your certificate or any other issues, please do not hesitate to contact us. All right. If you think our website is not working, okay, don't you worry because as I was saying earlier, there will be some other times that our website is down because of huge number of internet traffic. Okay, so don't get panic. Okay, don't worry because you can actually claim your certificates tomorrow. Okay, if do you think downloading your certificate after this session is quite impossible? Okay, on account of huge volume of internet traffic, and then you can actually do it tomorrow. There is always tomorrow, guys. Don't you worry. Our core team members are always ready in comment section. Okay, we have a team that will be closely monitoring your comment on the comment section down below, and they will be taking notes of those comments that you might posted on our chat box below. And by the way, guys, your Facebook feeds will now be filled with a series of webinars that IGP has been preparing for you guys. All right. Don't miss out our webinar entitled Magic of Logic. That's going to be on July 26, 2021. And we'll be joining by Dr. Cesar B. R. Cairo and Sir Paul Gary P. Abelio, all the way from the Philippines. Please mark your calendar on July 26th. All right. And also, we invite you guys to be a part of our webinar on special topics in general mathematics, okay, happening on July 28th. And we're so happy to be joined by two speakers also from the Philippines. And spend your night as we bring you a seminar on global hospitality planning with modern travelers happening on July 30, 2021. We have invited speakers from the Philippines and from Bangladesh. And also get ready for our webinar on empowerment through education, okay, taking place on August 1, 2021. We invited speakers from Belgium, from Trinidad and Tobago, and from, okay, that's it. All right. See who's speaking at our webinar on August 3. Okay, we managed to invite three speakers. Okay, the one is from Singapore, the other one is from South Africa, and the other one is from Albania for our webinar entitled Setting Career Goals. Again, that's happening on August 3, 2021. And don't miss out our next webinar happening on August 5. That's self-determination leads to success. And also joining us are speaker from Morocco, another one is from United Kingdom, and from the United States. All right. All right. Be present. All right. And more upcoming webinars coming up. Okay. Be present to witness our webinar on transforming the future through education happening on August 9, 2021. We have three speakers joining us on that day. Okay, and also we'd love to see you guys among us at our webinar on global communication for educators happening on August 10, 2021. We have invited speakers from the Philippines and from the United Arab Emirates. They will be joining with us. And also turn in on August 11, 2021 for our webinar on developing resilience. All right. And joining us are three speakers from different parts of the world. And also learn the creativity in teaching on August 12, 2021, as we invited speakers from the Philippines and from, all right, Uzbekistan, I think, to share their take on creativity in teaching. This is quite interested among our teachers and educators. All right. And enjoy being part of our webinar on August 13, 2021 on leading change through uncertainty. Okay, joining us are speaker from the Philippines, from South Africa, and from the United States of America. All right, so please mark your calendar, save the dates. And we'd love to see you also at our webinar on August 15, 2021 for the webinar on transformational leadership. All right, joining us are from United States of America, United Kingdom, and South Africa as joining us as speaker for that said webinar. Okay. And also don't miss out our next webinar that's Leading for Success, taking place on August 17, 2021. And we'll be joined by speaker all the way from South Africa and United Kingdom and also from Ecuador. So this is really quite interesting for our leaders out there. All right, that's Leading for Success. And more upcoming webinar coming soon. All right, I wonder if you could spend your night with us as we bring you a seminar on community engagement and empowerment taking place on August 19, 2021. And joining us on that webinar is a speaker from Vietnam and India as well as Nigeria. All right. And also save the date on August 20, 2021 as we bring you a webinar on concepts and components of quantitative research. Okay, we have two speakers all the way from the Philippines who will share their insights on the topic concepts and components of quantitative research. And also, we invite you to be a part of our upcoming webinar that's Achieving Success Through Innovation happening on August 21. Joining us for that webinar is a speaker all the way from United Arab Emirates, from South Africa, and from Croatia. Okay, so please do expect for that one. Okay. All right. Enjoy being part of our webinar on leadership in education, also happening on August 23, 2021. All right. We'll be joined by a speaker from South Africa, all right, and from Croatia. Okay. And the other one is from Switzerland. All right. So this is going to be an interesting webinar for all of us guys. Another one is a webinar on social emotional teaching and learning management that will take place coming August 25, 2021. And we're so happy and delighted to have speaker from Greece, from India, and from Croatia. They will be joining us on that webinar to share their expertise and knowledge on the topic given. And also don't miss out our webinar on Thriving for Success happening on August 27, 2021. And we invited four speakers all the way from South Africa, from India, from Nigeria, and from Singapore. All right. More upcoming All right, so we'd love to see you guys on our webinar on principles of leading change. All right, that will be on August 29, 2021. And we invited four speakers from different parts of the world. The first one is we have from South Africa, or we have three from South Africa, three invited speakers from South Africa, and one from the United Kingdom. All right, so please save the date and don't miss that one out. Our upcoming webinar, and also get ready for our webinar on young leaders changing the world, happening in August 31, 2021. And we also invited different speakers from around the world, from South Africa, from the United Kingdom, and from Vietnam to share their take on the topic young leaders. All right, so more upcoming webinars coming up. And also, do not be absent on September 3, 2021 for our webinar entitled Importance of Co-Curricular Activities in Teaching and Learning Process. And three speakers will be joining us. Okay, they will be coming from India, and there you go. All right. Uh, Also, get ready for a webinar on technology of the future in education, advantages and challenges. That will take place by September 5, 2021. And we have invited speaker from Canada. All right. And the rest. We also have a upcoming webinar on ICT uses in everywhere happening on September 7, 2021. And we have three invited speakers who will be coming all the way from India. So please save the date, guys. Oh, don't miss out also our next webinar on 21st skills in education and integration of technology. That will be on September 9, 2021. And we invited speakers, three speakers all the way from Albania. All right. And okay, please save the date on September 11, 2021 for our upcoming webinar on supporting learning through interactive learning tools. Okay, we invited three speakers all the way from the Philippines. More upcoming webinar coming up. All right. We'd love also to see you guys at our webinar on psychosocial issues of students. That will be on September 19, 2021. All right, we have invited two speakers all the way from India and one from, I think it's Albania. All right, and that's our 183rd episode of our free international webinar. Okay, day off. So we're going to have a day off on September 23, 2021. All right, so for us also to keep on resting our body and everything. Okay, so we're going to have a day off on September 23. Okay, so I think that's all for tonight. And unless there is further announcement from IGP, all right. Okay. Okay, so I guess that's all what we have for you for tonight. So again, we would like to express our hearty thanks and appreciation for attending and for your active participation. Okay, to our invited speakers for sharing their time and their expertise and everything. We really owe them an appreciation for that one. And also our live audience for the immense active participation that they are actually showing, and for the continued support that they're actually manifesting towards the Institute of Global Professional. So for that reason, thank you so much. We do really appreciate that one. All right. So I think that concludes our tonight's event. Okay. This has been Gafor Panimbang, your host for tonight's session, saying thank you for joining us for tonight's event, and keep learning. Thank you. See you in our next series.